Masechet Hagigah Daf Yod Zayin. We begin with the next Mishnah. This is, after all, Masechet Hagigah, so getting back to the laws of the Korban. And the question is, when does one offer the Korban Hagigah? Would it be on Yom Tov, or on the following days of Chol HaMoed, or in the case of Shavuot, where there is no Chol HaMoed, on the next day after the Yom Tov, or any of the following days? That is the question we're going to be dealing with, and we start with the machloket. Bet Shammai omerim mevi'in shelamim ve'en somchim alehem, aval lo olot. Ubet Hillel omerim mevi'in shelamim ve'olot ve'somchim alehem. So Bet Shammai says, on Yom Tov itself, one may offer shelamim, but not olot. So what's the difference? Shelamim is an animal that you sacrifice only a small portion of it, but most of it the owners eat. And therefore, since it is Yom Tov, one is permitted to slaughter and prepare an animal because it's for food. It's ochel nefesh. And so you could do it even for cholin. You could just make your own barbecue with a fresh lamb that you slaughter. So all the more so, you could do so for a korban. So therefore, a shelamim is permitted to do on the holiday, but not olah, because an olah is all going to be burnt. People are not eating any part of it. And so therefore, you're not allowed to slaughter and cook and prepare for Yom Tov if it's not for ochel nefesh, if people are not eating it. Now, of course, this does not include olah like korban tamid and korban musaf. There, the Torah says you have to bring those olot on Yom Tov, even on Shabbat. You override Shabbat. But we're talking about other things that for olat ediyah, that are for the holiday. You don't have to bring them this day. You could bring it on the next day after Yom Tov. So Bet Shammai says you have to wait. Another matter that Bet Shammai also disagrees about is that he says you don't do semicha on Yom Tov, because you could have done semicha the day before. He thinks that you don't have to do semicha immediately before you slaughter it. And so therefore, even those offerings, the shalamim, that you are allowed to offer on Yom Tov, the semicha would be done the day before and not on Yom Tov, because that's an unnecessary violation of the laws of Yom Tov. That's all Bet Shammai. Bet Hillel omrim, that you bring not only shalamim, that he agrees, but also you can offer olot, even though you're not eating it. But nevertheless, just like you could bring olah of korban tamid, the best time to bring olat re'iyah is the first day. Yeah, if you didn't get a chance for some reason, you could bring it the next day. But the Yom Tov itself is the primary day to bring these olot. And when you bring these olot or these shelamim, you can also do semicha on it, because according to Bet Hillel, semicha is not only a necessary part of the avodah, it also must be done immediately before the slaughtering of the animal. And therefore, there's no option to do it the day before. So anything that is necessary for the avodah is permitted in the Bet HaMikdash. And so there you go, Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai is much more machmir, and Bet Hillel is much more lenient. Now, they also disagree regarding the follows. Aseret, which is a consequence of this first machloket. Aseret shechal liot be'erev Shabbat. Bet Shammai omrim yom tibuach achar haShabbat. Aseret min Shavuot. If Shavuot falls out on Friday. Now, according to Bet Shammai, we do not offer the olat re'iyah on Friday. It's korban olah. We can't do it on Yom Tov. And now the next day is going to be Shabbat. So for sure, you cannot slaughter this olah on Shabbat. Couldn't even do it on Yom Tov. And so what are we going to do? We'll wait 2 days and we'll make it on Sunday. That day is called Yom Tibowa, the day of slaughtering. This was generally the day after Shavuot, because we're going to see in the Talmud, in the Gemara here, that actually you have 6 more days after Shavuot to make up. But people want to do it on the first possible day. And so the day after Shavuot was a day that there was a lot of korbanot. According to everybody, because even according to Bet Hillel, people would bring other korbanot that they don't have to bring, and they wouldn't do it on Yom Tov. They would bring them on the next day. So this is Yom Tibowa. So when is this Yom Tibowa going to be? It'll be on Sunday. Can't be on Friday, because that's Yom Tov, and Bet Shammai doesn't allow, and Shabbat is not allowed. So therefore, Yom Tibowa is on Sunday. Bet Hillel says, no, you don't need a Yom Tiboach in such a case, because you can offer all the offerings you need to on Friday itself, because you're allowed to bring Korban Iyah on Friday, and you could bring the Shalamim on Friday, and therefore Shabbat you wouldn't bring anything. So you do everything on Friday, and by the time Sunday comes, it's already much later. So since you could do it on Friday, there's no Yom Tiboach. Modim she'im halal lehiyot b'Shabbat shem tiboch achar Shabbat. However, both Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai agree that if Shavuot falls out on Shabbat itself, well, then even Bet Hillel is going to say you're not going to bring the olah to the iyah on Shabbat, because Shabbat you could only bring the korban tamid and musaf and so on. So therefore, when you're going to bring it on Sunday, so Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai agree that if Shavuot is on Shabbat, Yom Tiboach is on Sunday. In such a case, even though that day that everybody's bringing offerings and it's a very celebratory day, nevertheless, En Kohen Gadol mitlabesh bechelav, the Kohen Gadol should not wear his special garments, either some special festive garments, or the Kohen Gadol should not even wear Bigdei Kohen Gadol. If he doesn't wear Bigdei Kohen Gadol, then he cannot serve. And maybe that's the very point. Usually, a Kohen Gadol has a right to serve any day he wants. He's in charge. But usually, Kohen Gadol is very busy. So he would be in charge for sure on Yom Kippur he has to be, and on holidays he would come and he would do everything. But generally, when it's not Yom Tov, he's dealing with other matters and other Kohanim. So this day, this is the day after Shavuot, and it's also Sunday. Even though it's a very festive day, and everybody's bringing their korbanot for Shavuot, their olat riyah and everything else, and shalamim. Nevertheless, the Kohen Gadol would not be involved. He'd let other Kohanim do it to lessen the importance of the day. We'll see why. And not only that, one is allowed to make eulogies and to fast on that day. Usually that would not be so. A day that you're bringing a korban, a festive korban, that's a day you're not going to say tachanun, right? Until today, we don't say tachanun for the 6 days after Shavuot. Why do we do this? Even though really we would, if it fell on any other day of the week, Shavuot was Tuesday, and then we're bringing Yom Tiboach on Wednesday, then this would be treated like a festive day, and you wouldn't make hesped and ta'anit. But if it's Sunday, we go out of our way to say the Kohen Gadol, you go do other things. We'll do regular Kohanim, and we'll go out of our way to have a permit fasting and eulogies in order to polemicize against those who say, is referring to the Sadducees and the Bothusians and the Dead Sea sect, who all have a different calendar, a solar calendar, according to which Shavuot is always going to be on Sunday, because they read literally Mimachorat HaShabbat, that you count 7 weeks from the day after Shabbat, and they interpret that to mean Sunday, until 7 weeks later on Sunday. And so therefore, if Shavuot falls out on Shabbat, and then the Yom Tiboach, the big celebration, is going to be on Sunday, if we treat that Sunday like a full celebration with Kohen Gadol and everything, then the Sadducees will say, we're right. Shavuot is on Sunday, even they agree. So we go out of our way to make it less important, to show that this day is not Shavuot. This is not a full day of celebration. Okay, that is extremely interesting, and gives us a little insight into the political rivalry that was in fact happening during the second Bet HaMikdash. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Amar Rabbi Oshaia. Now we begin the Gemara. The Gemara is going to have a very nice, clear structure. The Gemara is going to say that Shavuot has 7 days to offer makeup sacrifices. Shavuot, and then 6 more days, even though Shavuot is only 1 day. Nevertheless, you can offer them all the rest of those days. So we're going to bring 2 proofs that this is in fact the case. One proof from Rabbi Oshaia, and he's going to compare it to Pesach. Pesach is 7 days, and so too Shavuot has 7 days altogether to offer sacrifices. We're going to challenge Rabbi Oshaia from 3 sources. One is from our Mishnah, then from a baraita, and then from a second baraita. We will answer all of them, and Rabbi Oshaia will be supported. And then we're going to bring a second proof that there are makeup days for Shavuot, and that's going to be from Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. He'll prove that there's at least one makeup day, Yom Tibowa, and that will be a proof from Sefer Vayikra, which we'll see, and we'll end off the daf asking, why do we need both sources? And we're going to show that we learn something from one that we do not learn from the other, and therefore, yes, in fact, we do need both of them. Okay, so now we get to Rabbi Oshaia. מנין לעשרת שיש לה תשלומים כל שבעה, שנאמר בחג המסות ובחג השבועות ובחג הסוכות, מקיש חג השבועות לחג המסות. מה חג המסות יש לה תשלומים כל שבעה, אף חג השבועות יש לה תשלומים כל שבעה. So he says that we're going to look at the pasuk in Devarim, and which compares and lists all together Chag HaMasot and Chag HaShavuot and Chag HaSukkot. So why are we putting them all together? What's something that they would have in common? Well, Chag Shavuot and Masot, just like Masot, meaning Passover, has 7 days. It's the first and last days are Yom Tov, the middle days are Chol HaMoed, and you can offer the Pesach sacrifices, the Olat Riyah, the Hagigah, Shalmei, Simcha. You can offer those all 7 days. So too, Shavuot, even though it's only 1 day, we learn from Pesach that you can offer the sacrifices that day and the next 6 for 7 altogether. So it doesn't have a Chol HaMoed, but still has days that are makeup days for the Korbanot. And that's how we learn it. All right, sounds good. But now you're going to ask, yeah, but all 3 holidays are mentioned in that pasuk. So instead of comparing Shavuot to Pesach, why not compare Shavuot to Sukkot? And Sukkot is 8 days. Ma Chag Sukkot yesh la tashlumin kol shemona, af Chag Shavuot yesh tashlumin kol shemona. And just like on Sukkot, although Sukkot is also 7 days plus Shemini Aseret, but we learned that you can make up, if you didn't get a chance to bring the Korbanot of Sukkot on the first day or 7 days, you can even bring it on Shemini Aseret. So just like Sukkot has 8 days of bringing us offerings, they're all in the same pasuk. Why not say Shavuot also has 8 days? And we answer, Shemini Regel B'fnei Atzmahu. No, the 8th day is a separate holiday, and so it should not be compared to Shavuot. Shavuot better to compare to Pesach or Sukkot itself, which is itself 7 days. Shemini Aseret, leave aside because it's an extra, it's a separate holiday. Now we reject that and say, we're going to ask again. When we say that Shemini Aseret is a separate holiday, that is true regarding these 6 matters, which we'll list there by the acronym Pazar Kashav. But regarding Tashlumin, we don't treat Shemini Aseret as a separate holiday, because if you didn't do the Olat Riyah or Hagigah for Sukkot, you can bring it on Shemini Aseret. So in some senses, Shemini Aseret is a continuation of Sukkot. After all, you can't have 8 without 7. And Tashlumin is one of them. So if you're going to compare them, you have to compare them and say why we should compare them, and say Shavuot, it can be 8 days like Sukkot and Shemini Aseret. Okay, what are these 6 matters for which Shemini Aseret is considered a separate holiday? Peh stands for Pais, a lottery that when you give out the parts to the different families of Kohanim, they go by rotation for the 7 days of Sukkot, but on the Shemini Aseret, they make a new lottery. It's a separate rotation. And second, for Zaman, that we say a new Shechianu for that day, and we still do that today in Kiddush. We'll say a separate Shechianu because it's considered a new holiday. It also has a different name. It's not so called Sukkot, it's called Shemini Aseret. The Korbanot are completely different. The Korbanot of Shemini Aseret are similar in pattern to the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, are not like the pattern of the Sukkot Korbanot. Shir, the Leviim would sing a different song in the Bet HaMikdash. Until today, the song that the Mizmor for Sukkot is different from the Mizmor that we recite for Shemini Aseret, and the Beracha within Birkat Hamazon and within the Amidah, we mention this day of Shemini Aseret, and we don't call it Sukkot, Shemini Chag Aseret Hazeh. And so, so regarding 6 matters, you're right. Shemini Aseret is a different day, but regarding Tashlumin, we consider it the same. And so that's our question. If that pasuk that we brought from Devarim is going to compare Shavuot, we could compare it to Pesach and make it 7 days, but why not compare it to Sukkot, Shemini Aseret, and make it 8 days? Because we have in our Mishnah that we saw earlier, that if you didn't bring the korbanot on the first day of Sukkot, you can bring it all the days of Sukkot, including the last day, Shemini Aseret. And we answer, Tafasta merubeh, lo tafasta. Tafasta moat, tafasta. This is a general rule. That's quite logical. It's the same as the phrase that we say, a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. That was something what you can grab hold of. If you try to grab too much, then you're going to lose out on everything. If you are able to grab a little and have it in your grasp, then that is better. So the point here is that when we can compare Shavuot, we're going to compare it to that which is lesser, because that we know for sure. Sukkot, that Shavuot will be at least as much as Pesach, because that's the lesser one, so 7. If you're going to bring me Sukkot and say, maybe Shemini Aseret, maybe more, but maybe not. And so therefore, we go with the smaller number that is more certain, and we can't assume that the Torah wants us to go to the larger number when we have the smaller one that is certain. Okay, good. So now we've established that we learn Shavuot, Rabbi Oshaia is a good proof, and we learn it from Passover. Okay. Well, if that's the case, what is Sukkot doing in that pasuk? Right? Just bring 2 holidays, Shavuot and Pesach, to teach me that you have 7 days. What is Sukkot being compared to? For what halacha? And the answer is lakushe lechagamasot, ma chagamasot ta'on lina, av chagasukot ta'on lina. It's for a different law of lina, meaning sleeping over. On Pesach, you can't just bring your korban Pesach and eat it with the group in Jerusalem and then go home. You can't do that. You gotta sleep over, not only the first night, but you have to stay there the entire Yom Tov, and you can only go home on the second day. Meaning the first day of Chol HaMoed, the second day of the holiday. So you actually have to sleep in Yerushalayim for 2 nights. Somebody shouldn't even interpret this the law of Lina to mean that you have to stay in Jerusalem all 7 days until the end of the holiday. It's a one big sleepover party. And so just like that's true, and that is true for Chag HaMasot, and by putting the Sukkot into this pasuk, we learn that it's true for Sukkot also. Sukkot is literally one big sleepover party, right? They're literally sleeping in tents all over Jerusalem, and by forcing people to sleep over those couple of nights, then it'll be much more festive, because no one's running to go home. They're staying, and because it's a new moon, a full moon, so it's nice and bright out, and people can stay up all night and sing and enjoy the Chag. Okay, regarding Pesach, how do we know that Pesach has that law in the first place, that you have to stay over? Regarding Pesach, it says you will leave in the morning and go to your tents. So in other words, you can't leave at night. You got to wait till the morning. And so what is it talking about? On Yom Tov, you're going to be traveling? Yeah, I can't travel on Yom Tov. Can't go anywhere. And so therefore, it must be the day after. So you have to sleep at least 2 nights together, and that will create a very festive environment. And that's true for Pesach, and it's true for Sukkot as well. All right. And now we get to our first challenge, right? So that was Rabbi Oshaia's proof. And we're going to have a challenge from our very Mishnah. Tanan, Aseret Shechaliot Erev Shabbat. Bet Shammai Omrim Yom Tiboach Achar Shabbat. Ubet Hillel Omrim En La Yom Tiboach. My love and la Yom Tiboach kelal. So regarding the case of Shavuot that falls out on Friday, and Bet Shammai says, well, you can't offer things on Friday, because that's Yom Tov, and not on Shabbat because it's Shabbat. So the Yom Tibowa will be after Shabbat. But Bet Hillel says in that case, there's no Yom Tibowa because you can offer things on Friday, on Yom Tov. And so 2 days later, forget about it. So doesn't this mean that there's no Yom Tibowa at all? Meaning there's no makeup days, 0 makeup days. And that would go against Rabbi Oshaia. Rabbi Oshaia says there's 7 makeup days, and here we see there's 0 makeup days. So we answer Lo Shena Sricha Yom Tiboach. Doesn't mean that there's no possibility of a slaughter day, but rather that it's not necessary to have a designated slaughter day because you could bring it on Yom Tov. But even Bet Hillel would agree that if you didn't, your animal ran away, got lost, and whatever, then you can bring it Sunday, Monday, and so on. Okay, and so then what does it teach us? Why bother saying this at all? It's to teach us that what does it come to teach us? This whole clause that you can bring korbanot on Yom Tov, is that what it's coming to teach us? That according to Bet Hillel, you don't need a Yom Tov. You can if you want, but you don't need a makeup day. You don't need a makeup day because the korbanot can be brought on Yom Tov. Is that what this whole case is coming to teach us? We don't need to learn that because the beginning of the Mishnah already said that. They already said, we already brought that controversy. And now we quote the beginning of our Mishnah. Bet Shammai אומרים מביאים שלמים ואין סומכים עליהן, אבל לעולות, בית הלל מביאים שלמים ועולות וסומכים עליהם. Right? The Bet Shammai said, we bring shalamim because you can eat them, no semicha because you could do it the day before. No, we don't bring olot. Bet Hillel says you can bring shalamim, you can bring olot, and you could do semicha. So we know that you could bring korbanot on Yom Tov. So now you bring me this second case of when it's on Friday, then according to Bet Hillel, you don't need a Yom Tiboach because you can offer them on Friday. I already know I can offer them on Friday because he already said you can make any offerings on Yom Tov. Sericha, no, I need both of these cases. I need the regular machloket and I need the special case of when it falls out on Friday. Di ashminan beha kamri bet Shammai mishum de'efshar lemachar. I need it because if I only had this first case that Bet Hillel in general prohibits olah on Yom Tov itself, I would say that he only prohibits it in a regular case when Shavuot is on Tuesday. And then because he says, well, just wait till tomorrow, wait till Wednesday. And that's why Bet Shammai says don't do it on the holiday itself. But in the case when it's Friday, if Shavuot is on Friday, maybe Bet Hillel would say, if I can't do it on Friday, if I don't allow you to do it on Friday, and then you can't do it on Saturday, by Sunday, people are going to be so far removed from the holiday, then they're going to forget or be lazy to bring their korbanot. So maybe Bet Shammai would agree with Bet Hillel that in the case that is Friday, Shavuot is Friday, then bring your olot on Friday because he's afraid that people will forget. So that's why I need the second case that according to Bet Hillel, even if the next day is Shabbat, still you can't bring it on Friday. And if I had only that case, maybe if I only had the case of Friday, then I would say in this case, that's when Bet Hillel says that you may bring the korbanot on Yom Tov because there's no possibility to bring them on Shabbat. So you got to bring them on Yom Tov. But maybe if it fell out on Tuesday, Shavuot was on Tuesday, and in that case, Bet Hillel would agree with Bet Shammai because just wait till tomorrow. Why should we bother violating Yom Tov when you're allowed to bring it on the next day? It's still a valid korban, and so maybe he would agree with Bet Shammai. So therefore, we need both cases to teach us that the machloket applies both when Shavuot is on Friday and when Shavuot is on any other day of the week. Okay, and that's our first challenge. Second challenge from a baraita, challenge to the Rabbi Oshaia that this makeup days. Tashema mi shelo chag Shavuot yemei Pesach u'shmona yemei hachag ve'yom tov harishon shel aseret shuv eno chogeg. That's a baraita. It says if you do not bring your korban Hagigah on any of the 7 days of Pesach or any of the 8 days of Sukkot or on the first day of Aseret, of course, Shavuot has only one day, so it means on the one day of Aseret, then you cannot bring it. There's no makeup. You can't bring Korban Hagigah after the holiday. It's not a holiday anymore. Wouldn't make sense. So my love Yom Tov Shel Aseret, when it says Yom Tov Rishon Shel Aseret, isn't that talking about the Yom Tov, which means that if you didn't bring it on Yom Tov, you can't bring it the next day. So this would follow Bet Hillel that you have to bring it on Yom Tov. Actually, this is if it's talking about just Korban Hagigah, Bet Shammai would agree too. And so it says that you have to bring it on the holiday itself, and you cannot bring it the next day. There is no makeup. And this is a challenge to the Rabbi Oshaia, who says there's 7 days of makeup. And we answer, Lo, Yom Tibowa. When it says Yom Tov Rishon Shel Aseret, Yom Tov is not referring to Shavuot itself, but Yom Tibowa, the slaughter day. So how does this work? It could be that the source that they were reading from said used the Rashi Tevot. It said Yod Tet. Right, Yod Tet, Yod double quotes Tet. And so what is Yod Tet? We thought it means Yom Tov, but Yom Tiboach also is Yod and Tet. So maybe we just expanded the abbreviation incorrectly, and it's actually Yom Tiboach. Okay, if that's the case, it would be quite interesting of a proof that there were some written texts of Torah Shebe'al Peh. Generally, we think Torah Shebe'al Peh was transmitted orally throughout the period of the Tanaim and Amoraim until much later when it was written down. But if, in fact, this would only be a scribal error if you expand the Rashi Tevot in this way, and this would mean that there were some, but I thought some sources that in fact were written down. Okay, it's difficult because even if there were some private notes, we do think that the primary transmission was oral. So instead, it's also possible to understand this differently, that the Yom Tov is talking about is the Yom Tiboach. Yom Tiboach, even though it's a regular day, it's chol, but because people are bringing their offerings and sacrifices, and there's so much celebration, and people are not going to work because you're not supposed to go to work any day that you bring a korban. So it has the flavor of a Yom Tov, even though it's not technically a Yom Tov, and so that could be talking about Yom Tiboach, and that's how we would answer this question, right? This Yom Tov Rishon Shel Aseret means the Yom Tiboach afterwards are in fact makeup days. Yom Tiboach. Hold on, we still have another question, because here it says the day of Tiboach, right? The Yom Tov Rishon Shel Aseret. Even if you say it's talking about the makeup day, nevertheless, it sounds like it's only one makeup day. And the Rabbi Oshaia, you said there are 6 makeup days. So, this is what would go against you, say only one. So we say, oh no, maybe it means Yemeh Tiboach, the days of. If it was Rashi Tevot, Yod Tet could be Yom or Yemeh. And so it could be referring to any of them. And if it's an oral transmission, then still you could say, well, we didn't mean Yom, we transmitted it orally incorrectly, and it should be Yemeh Tiboach, the days of. So any of those days that are like celebratory days. All right, so we answered that challenge. And the third challenge to the Rabbi Oshaia, who said there are 7 days altogether that you can bring a korban even for Shavuot. Shema detaneh Rabba bar Shemuel amra Torah menei yamim vekadesh chodesh menei yamim vekadesh aseret ma kodesh l'mnuyav af aseret l'mnuyeha ma lav gamar mechodesh ma chodesh yom echad af aseret yom echad. Okay, let's explain this proof. So in the pasuk in Bemidbar, that's talking about a month. How do you count a month? So here it says ad chodesh yamim. It's talking about the Slav coming down, that they're going to eat and they're going to be so disgusted. Okay, but the context doesn't matter. The point is that when you talk about a month is defined as 30 days. Chodesh yamim. You count day 1, 2, 3, and you get to a month. Sometimes 29, whatever. And so menei yamim. So you count the number of days, the correct number of days for that month. And then when you get to the Rosh Chodesh, then you say, oh, then this is a new month and it's a special day. Menei yamim. So we count the days. And the Kadesh Aseret meaning Shavuot, also is based on counting days. Where do we see that? In the pasuk in Vayikra 23, where it says Ad b'machorat Shabbat Tisperu Chamishim Yom. You count 50 days and then we have we declare the next day is a holiday. Okay, so both a month, Ravi Rosh Chodesh and Shavuot, you count using a unit of days. And so furthermore, just like a Chodesh Limnu Yav, so too Aseret Limnu Yeha. Just like a month, how long is Rosh Chodesh? 1 day. I mean, now we do sometimes 2 days, but that's just out of Safek. But essentially, Rosh Chodesh, when we bring an extra Korban Musaf, that is a 1 day celebration. So the unit of time that we use to count towards a month is the same as the unit of time that we are actually celebrating that day. So that's true for Shavuot. And so we should learn that regarding Rosh Chodesh, that was true regarding Rosh Chodesh, is true regarding Shavuot as well. That Shavuot, since we use a unit of time of 1 day to count towards Shavuot, therefore the amount of time that we celebrate Shavuot should also be 1 day and 1 day only. And therefore, that means there are no extra days, there are no makeup days. And so you have to bring all your korbanot of Shavuot on Yom Tov and without makeup days. And that's a challenge to Rabbi Oshaia, who says there are 6 makeup days. Okay, the answer is Amar Rabbah betizbera atu aseret yomei maninan shavuot lo maninan. Wait a second, is it the same? On for the month we count only days, only units of days. That's the 30th day. Okay, Rosh Chodesh. But for Shavuot, do we count only days and not weeks? V'ha'amar Abaye מצווה לממנה יום דכתיב תספרו 50 יום, ומצווה לממנה שבוע דכתיב 7 שבועות תספור לך, ועוד חג שבועות כתיב. When we are counting towards Shavuot, we count also the weeks, as it says, you should count 50 days, and we count weeks because it says 7 weeks altogether. And the name of the holiday, after all, is the Festival of Weeks. And that's exactly what we do till today, that we say, Hayom Shiva Yamim La'omer Shehem Shavua Echad. We always correlate not only number of days, but also the number of weeks. And if you leave out the weeks, and when we're counting the Omer, that's an improper way of counting. And so therefore, this is a good proof. Just like we use a unit of weeks to count up to Shavuot, so too the celebration of Shavuot should be that same unit. What is that unit? A week. And therefore, Shavuot has an aspect of it that is actually a week long. What aspect? It's the number of days that you could bring a korban for Shavuot is in fact 7 days. Now we also count it by days. And so Shavuot itself is in fact that unit of 1 day and has both aspects. It's Yom Tov for 1 day, but you can bring Tashlumin for 7 days, all right, Shavuot and the 6 days following. All right, and so now we had 3 challenges, but Rabbi Oshaia is confirmed that we learned that there are 7 days to offer sacrifices on Shavuot, and we learned that from Pesach. But now we're going to have another way of learning the same law. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Tana, Amar kira ukratem ubekusrechem. Ezehu chag shata koreh bekoser bo, have omer ze chag aseret. Okay, we're reading 2 Pesukim back to back. This is in Vayikra 23, the whole section about the holidays, and this is specifically regarding Shavuot. So the pasuk here says, "Ukratem ba'esem hayom hazeh mikra kodesh yelachem kol melchat avodah lo ta'asu." So on this very day, this is Shavuot, you will call it a holiday. Calling it mikra kodesh means it's Yom Tov, and everywhere in all your settlements, that is Yom Tov. And then the next line says, "Ubekusrechem." When you reap your harvest, make sure to leave a pe'ah and leket and leave these sections for the poor. Okay, now what's the relationship between these 2 Pesukim? The kusrechem, when you're reaping the field, you're not doing that on the holiday. So why is it here? Okay, in the Peshat, I guess we could understand that since Shavuot is the festival that's done at the time of the harvest, and so, while the days before you're doing the harvest, it wants to tell you, by the way, when you do the harvest, make sure to leave some over for the poor. So that's good to know. But it is still here back to back. And so that the Midrash says, what is the holiday on which you also are permitted to reap the grain? Omer, Ze Chag Aseret. It must be Shavuot, because right, Ukratem, this is talking about Shavuot. So we have a concept of a holiday, which is Shavuot, on which you're allowed to do melacha and reap grain. Now, we're not so clear about this yet. Emat, what day is we're talking about? If it's Yom Tov itself, are you allowed to reap grain on Yom Tov? You're not allowed. Even though you're allowed to cook and do things, you can only you're not allowed to go back and all the way to the beginning of the process and reap the grain, because you could have done that before. It doesn't make the bread taste any better if you reap it today or if you reaped it before. And so you can make the dough on Yom Tov, but not go back and reap. So this is not talking about Yom Tov itself. It must be talking about another day that is associated with Shavuot. So what day is that? Elalav l'tashlumin. There you go. Shavuot is not just one day holiday. Shavuot is a one day Yom Tov. It's true. And there's no reaping then, but there is a day that is also special on which you can reap, meaning it's not Yom Tov, and therefore that's a proof that there is at least a day that you can bring holiday sacrifices for Shavuot after Shavuot. And there you go. There is a Yom Tibowa. So that's how he learns it from Ukratem ubekusrechem, back to back. There is a day related to Shavuot on which you can do melacha, and that's the day of Tashlumin. That's it. That's his proof. And now we're just going to end off wondering why we need both, because we upheld both of these proofs. That's the first proof from Pesach. That we still need both of them. Rabbi Eliezer, Yaakov, we still need the second one. If we only had the first proof, I might have made the derivation to say, just like on Pesach, you're not allowed to do melacha. All 7 days of Pesach, there's the 2 days of Yom Tov, and Chol Hamoed also. Essentially, you're not allowed to do melacha unless it's Davad Haved, irretrievable loss, and you could do melacha. But essentially, there's no melacha all 7 days of Pesach. So I might have thought that all 7 days of Shavuot, meaning Shavuot itself, Yom Tov, and the 6 days of Tashlumin, I might have thought we treat it like Chol Hamoed, and you can't just go and do regular melacha. But that's not true. So Kamash Malan to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and that's why Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, no, you're allowed to reap on these days, right? These are Shavuot related days on which you can do any melacha. And so we need Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. If I only had the second one, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, then la yadana kama, I wouldn't know how many days, because it just says, right, on when you reap. I don't know how many days are we adding to the Shavuot? Maybe only one day. Kamash malan to Rabbi Eliezer, Amar Rabbi Oshaia. Therefore, Rabbi Eliezer says we learn it from Pesach, and Pesach is 7 days altogether, and so too Shavuot, and the following 6 days will make 7 days altogether of makeup for the korban that that if you didn't bring it or couldn't bring it on Shavuot itself. And so we see now the close relationship between each of the holidays. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.